$61,000 left approximately.
Approximately, yes.
Probably, I don't think we can pay for all of that, but we would like to get some, either bid it or get some temporary prices. The second option is to kill the whole thing because we don't have the money. So I think we ought to make a decision whether we try to go with the foundation in this year and finish the building some other time. They will finish the building based on money they raise. I think we'll discuss that.
What does it cost us to have John get estimates?
What's that?
What does it cost us to have John get estimates? John wants to get estimates, you just said, right? Correct?
We want to get bids.
Okay, so
Yeah.
will it cost us any money if he goes out to get bids?
He can get some, under the, let's say, unofficial bids from guys in town, just to
Okay.
see if it's worth pursuing.
Okay, so why not?
If
why
it's
not
worth
look at that?
pursuing, we then would go out for formal bid.
The other question I have is, who is preparing the spec for the bids to come in?
That's the question I was just gonna ask the borough attorney,
You
because,
cannot do this informally.
yeah, if, when you're talking about bids, since we're providing the money, and I have to defer to John, my assumption would be that we would have to adhere to the bidding laws, and the bidding specs would have to go through us, it would have to be advertised to us.
Right, any money that we're using from, let's say, our bond ordinance, we would have to be in charge of the whole.
The financing part, the
Well,
bid and everything else.
Right, we have to prepare the bid, we have to advertise, it would be our responsibility to ensure that the public bidding laws are complied with. Although I'm not getting the impression that that's what, this person sounds like they just want to get informal proposals to give you a ballpark.
Two things. He wants to get informal prices, to see if we
Right.
even worth
Yeah,
bidding.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, so that of course is not binding, and we have no obligation to do anything with that information. He's doing it at his own cost and expense. The other thing though is that, I guess you can pursue simultaneously, but you still have a committee that hasn't even determined a site yet. So why get a bid on something that you don't even know where the location
That's
is?
my next question. Is the bid, is the proposal gonna be for any and all sites, or just one site specifically? If it's one site only, what's the point?
They're proposing the PAL field.
My question is it site work or is it a foundation?
What's that?
Is he getting a proposal for site work or a foundation or both?
The site clearance of the foundation.
So
They would like to go through that, get a formal price.
Or
If it's
both,
within
not
the
just the
money.
foundation?
What's that?
Not just foundation, site work as well?
It would have to be both, yeah.
Cleaning the ground up for the foundation. You have to do that before you can put the foundation down.
So it's right, we haven't approved the PL for what's
So anyway,
But
we
the park
have an
before
option,
it works,
to see if we can get some informed prices, see if we have any money to do this, or a little project now. So I think we ought to make a decision at some point.
Well, you have the committee to evaluate sites, right? So why would we even talk about getting foundation pricing, even guesstimate pricing, for one location when the committee didn't do any work? Why have a discussion about kill the project now when we don't know what the hell we're talking about?
Well,
So let the committee do its job and then we move from that point.
the problem is, there's not really much ground to look at. For example, Vivian is a dedicated piece of ground. You can't put the building on Vivian to start with.
Well, how do we know that?
What?
How do we know that?
They can't
Is that getting hard?
I think what the mayor means by that is Vivian is the only Green Acres funded property we have,
But
and,
the fact that it's a funded site does not prohibit.
no, but what it does is it makes it untenable, because on the funded site, 75% of the building would have to be dedicated to something other than indoor recreation. So if you wanna have the size of if you wanna have the current size of indoor recreation that you're talking about at the PAL field right now, you'd have to expand the project by 4 to get the necessary amount of space in there.
And use other than recreation?
Yeah, it's a 75-25 split, and I don't have the thing memorized right now, but, because I didn't know you were gonna discuss it. But the way it is, basically, you can't, you'd have to, the project would have to be increased enormously, which we don't have the money to do. They don't have, they barely, they might not have the money to do the small project they have. They cannot, there's no way they can fund a project on a Green Acres funded piece of land.
So that area is out of the question.
That area, well, unless you're gonna pour, millions of dollars into it.
Or
Yes.
is there some variance in that regulation?
And when is the committee going to,
Well,
get going?
we've been talking to, try to get together next week to at least, acquaint ourselves with one another and determine a game plan as to how we're gonna, address this issue. But let me just, the question I'm asking, if we're talking about a 75% use other than recreation,
Other than indoor, it's gotta be dedicated to the outdoor recreation, so you need, it would have to be, for lack of a better example at this point in time, 75% of that building would have to supplement the outdoor recommendations, say like, a place to store the pieces of equipment and things like that. It has to be directly related to outdoor recreation versus only 25% can be indoor on a funded piece of property. That's the discussion that I've had with the engineer and, the Boswell engineers and Councilman Gilman and, the funded part of it.
Well, if you have, let me ask you this question, and it doesn't usually happen that often, I realize that. So this is, probably the best thing is just to call up the state perhaps, but if there was a baseball field there, and you said that the indoor facility was going to use to have indoor baseball, which is supplementing the outdoor baseball field, would that count or not count?
No, no good. The Green Acres is supposedly outside. It's outside.
You might be able, you may be able to stretch it to have indoor batting cages that
Well,
would
that's what I
supplement
meant.
the
I mean,
outdoor rec.
baseball in high school, they
Yeah.
use the gyms
Right.
all the time. Bad weather, when it's winter, they go in, and therefore the indoor facility is supplementing the
But
outside.
you'd still have to show that you're using, that the purpose of that section of building is specifically dedicated to the outdoor. You can't kinda like hide it and say, okay, 90% of the year, we're gonna use it for indoor stuff, but for Green Acres, we're gonna tell them that we put batting cages up in here.
Well, no, actually, with the baseball, they don't even put the batting cages in, they just have fielding and throwing, so, which is on the basketball court. So basically, it's a basketball court that's also used for baseball, it's also used for soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, almost all indoor facilities now are
I'm not-
supplementing outdoor uses.
I'm by no means an expert on that.
Yeah,
So,
no, if you have a person, do we have a contact person? Because I'll give them a call. If we do.
I'd have to go check
Okay.
with,
I have a question. Why is John even asking us permission to get these quotes? He doesn't need our permission. He can go out and get these informal quotes without even asking us.
Well, he just wants to know if anybody is really interested in doing anything on this. It would appear that, if they got some encouragement, they'd be really happy.
Doesn't have to be encouraging, just the information. Not cost, I disagree with you. It's not costing us anything to go out and get some quotes. Let's at least have enough information. So when you guys look at the sites,
I'm just
you'll have idea what they're
I'm
saying.
forwarding something they said they would like to have
Yeah,
brought up at the meeting.
to me, why not? It's not costing us anything. We just want to do the legwork. Why not?
Option one would eat up the money we have to build the whole sites.
I'm confused. Isn't option one just getting informal quotes? How is that eating up any money? Isn't option one him getting informal quotes? What's option one? Let's go back.
Well, if he actually gets informal quotes as to the square footage of the foundation
Right.
itself, absent the site, because each site is
Yes,
different,
obviously.
that number, outside of there being rock at another location, would
So
be
basi-
consistent,
exactly.
would be
That's my
pretty
point.
much the same. Because if, whether you're pouring 40,000 square feet of concrete in Park A or Park B,
Right.
again, providing there's no rock that they have to dynamite, the cost would be the
It
same
wouldn't be,
for.
it wouldn't be because, for example, when we looked at, the field in, Memorial, right? Because of the grade, the preliminary work.
We're not talking
Yeah, I'm
site,
waiting for
we're not
preliminary
talking
work.
site, we're talking foundation.
Oh, you're saying the
Then
walls, okay.
Before you put the foundation, you gotta take that dirt out, you gotta remove the hill.
Okay.
So, PAL don't have to do that, so.
That's that location, what about another location
Right.
at Memorial?
Right.
What about another location at Memorial?
Right. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it hurts us to let him do some legwork.
The problem I have with that though, is there's been a lot of informality with this, up to this point.
Thank you.
Okay.
The first time I ever saw the Boswell site plan was when it was released to the public for the February planning board meeting. Now, that site plan wasn't prepared, and the site plan takes pretty long, weeks to put together. And Boswell worked with the PAL to put it together. They never came to the borough, to the council to say, this is what's being proposed. Had they done that, before that drawing was put on paper, we would have had input. And I certainly would have said, you're talking about 10 feet of a property line, you must be crazy to put that on paper. So I think the informal steps should be a thing of the past. I think anything that's going to happen going forward should be done the right way. And I understand the right way sometimes could be very expensive, but who's going to guarantee the accuracy of these informal bids? And if we rely on them, and then put it out.
Well, we wouldn't rely on
That's
it.
it, we're not relying on it. While you're doing your work, you're doing some work. I don't see, we're not relying on it. When I'm just doing my work, it's not stopping you from doing anything else. You're still meeting, you're still having your committee. Let them do some legwork.
But it's,
The problem was, you had two 503C companies working all by themselves.
right,
And they weren't coordinating with anybody.
especially not us.
Absolutely. They thought they'd come in with a complete package and we were able to do it. So where do we go from here? Do we want, option one and option two is cancel the whole thing? So we got two, ways to go.
I still go with, I like to make decisions when I got facts, and I have no facts about anything,
What do you need, John?
pro or con. Well, we don't know, all right, if Whitaker Park is the only viable location. We don't know what this project is really going to cost, all right? You know, without facts, you know, it's all crapshoot. I mean, one night, if you will, person gets up, does a presentation, so much per square foot for an office building, so many millions of dollars. All right, that's not a fact. We're not building an office building. All right, I got no facts. I got no facts from the PAL. I got no facts, period. I like to make decisions on facts. Councilman Lodato wants this committee to look at sites. All right. As we now know, one of the sites that was slated to be looked at really isn't viable. Okay, so now they're down to two sites.
Okay, so do we wanna go with option one, examine sites first? Is that where we wanna go? I'm just trying to get some decision.
Well, that's what I would like to see. Like, let this committee, because now, once the committee says, here's why we think this is, like, here are the good things about this site. All right? Because, oh, by the way, you know, and we'll use Vivian Field. A huge space. All right? Where at Vivian Field? Memorial Park. Big park. Maybe there was a site chosen many years ago that this should be the site. Well, gee, if we move that site to here, this makes it a better location. As a suggestion coming from the committee, that's the way Councilman Lodato explained it to me.
That's what I'm trying to get everybody to agree on. You wanna go and evaluate everything? Yes or
Yes,
no?
yes.
Why don't you
Yes.
say yes and say go?
Because you asked me a question to explain myself, so I did.
Okay, so the idea is to evaluate all the sites in town and come up with the best location.
Simultaneously with us getting a handle on the cost. I don't think we need to wait any longer to get a handle on what this thing is going to cost.
So you wanna have John go out to his friends and get an informal price to see if we got enough money?
But the price he wants to get is for the PAL.
You can't get a firm price until you have a firm site.
Right. They gotta
We
know
put it
what,
somewhere else, there's gonna be a
right,
lot
like,
more cost added
if you
to
will,
it.
one of the early sites over at Memorial, you're the one who pointed it out to me. You had said it to me bluntly, Charlie, do you realize how far they gotta drag the sewer line further up? If they moved it down here, they wouldn't have to. You know, just something as simple as that. Alright, so before we go getting prices for foundations, let's try to figure out, if anywhere, where it would go. Then we got like a real price for a foundation.
Yeah, except I don't think the cost of the estimate for a foundation is even considered the cost of bringing utilities to the site. So the point I'm making is,
That's gotta be part of the site evaluation.
we should have Joe sitting here telling us that a foundation for a 13,000 square foot building is going to cost roughly X amount of dollars, and may vary depending upon site conditions. And I'm sure after his years of experience with Berkeley, he has an idea.
Well, you got an estimate in front of you, I gave it to you.
So the point
All right?
I'm making is, I still think we need, rather than us speculating, we need the professional here. The guy with the license, we need here so he can give a presentation and we can ask questions.
He's been saying this
What
for
do you want
months.
to ask him? I really not, but we can bring him in anytime we
Oh,
want.
there's
Well, wasn't he supposed to be here? Wasn't he supposed to be here?
Well, we have his estimate, I thought that's all we needed from him.
We got a question, what we're gonna ask? What we're gonna ask a question?
What are your questions?
Just,
We can answer-
just
we can
one,
answer
if I can
them.
interject one thing, when you talk about, what you're gonna have to decide is, Boswell is only the engineer for the PAL site. That's the work they've been doing, on the garage and the PAL site. They are not the engineer for the committee. Paul is the engineer for the committee. So, engineering questions from the committee for the various sites are not going to Boswell. They are going to Remington and Vernon.
Okay,
So don't mix up the apples and oranges. They're doing the, right now, they're basically focusing on getting the garage violation done. That's their, that's Boswell's function right now.
You have the specs for the PAL, correct?
No.
You don't have them? You were never given them? Okay.
I mean, there's certain things I know exist that when the committee calls me in, once they feel it's appropriate to come in.
Who has the specs? Does Boswell have the specs?
I believe recreation has the specs.
But if he's
Yeah, that would
working,
be,
he should be given
yeah.
specs.
But it depends on what specs you're talking about. There are no specs right now for, other than the building that they bought, whatever design came with that building, and that type of thing, those type of things. That project is stopped. They're done in terms of, you know, there's, you know, no more work going on that half of the project. Boswell right now is concentrating on, now, should Paul and Joe get together? Yeah, they can get together with the committee or before the committee meets and just exchange information so that Paul has everything that Joe had done up to the point where we're at right now.
No, my point is that whether or not he's still working on it, he did work on it in the past, Joe, correct? Joe did work on this project. Tim just said somebody has specs.
Right, but I don't know, when you talk about specs, I'm not sure that everybody has in the same, if everybody is thinking about specs like we do, that, you know.
You don't have any specs
Yeah,
for this building?
as far as, yeah, they have the drawing that they've already shown, I guess, to the planning board and
How
stuff
do they
like
get
that.
estimates?
You estimate
Not my
the amount
project.
of steel, the amount of concrete, and all shown on drawing. The drawing tells you the quantities.
The fact is, we don't know what information Joe has. We don't know what he used to formulate an opinion.
Here's a drawing of the foundation, and he's put an estimate out on the foundation. So I would think we all want to.
I think we're-
Based on this, it's almost $500,000.
Yeah.
So,
So,
they're already
my
way
question
over
remains,
budget.
we're gonna look at other sites, that's what you wanna go over, everybody wants to look at other sites.
No,
He like can't open windows.
Yeah, what we're going to tell us is the money
Joe
is
was
not
supposed
here.
to be explaining
And that's option two. Yes, they got them. The money's not there, the money's $261,000.
If you're going to accept the community numbers that you will be getting or have received, I would think that it would be probably appropriate for the committee to review or bring the engineer here as well as representatives from the PAL, say to them, this is a preliminary number, how do you have the money based upon this preliminary figure? And if they say to you no, then you go back to the mayor's point, then you then decide to kill the project because they don't have the money and you're not prepared to commit to it. But I think
got the money. They don't have the money, we got the money.
well, you don't have, Carlos just said he's seeing that it's 500,000, we have 260, I thought you said. Yeah, so you're 240 short. No, so my point is though that I think that you probably owe it to the PAL to have them part of that discussion, give them an opportunity to say to them that these are the numbers, preliminary numbers we received. We have blank dollars to contribute to it. where is the rest of the money going to come for this phase of the project, and to complete the project, regardless of the cost, because if your decision is that you're not committing any other money to it, then the rest of the onus is on them, and you need answers as to, number one, is it feasible for them to put the money together, and where are they going to get the money? And if the answer to that is that they can't, well, you almost are led to the conclusion.
Fine, in that case, we're meeting on the 17th?
The next council meeting?
24.
Why don't we schedule, I don't think we do this on the 24th. If necessary, why don't we schedule a special meeting for that purpose? Have the engineering, have PA, hopefully a full complement of council members, and let's bring this thing.
Why not
to an end.
24?
Council President, I'm sorry to have to bring this up, but I have to be out of state that week. I have to have somebody in my place. I had scheduled the third Monday, and I missed the fact that the fourth Tuesday that night. And I, of course, that is fine. I just wanted you to know that unfortunately I wouldn't be there specifically. I'll have somebody in my place.
Basically, the numbers that Councilman Agustin was looking at, on the one page, it's roughly $365,000. That's what the estimate is on that piece of paper. Currently, the borough has approximately $262,000. So that's the difference.
78,000 a year? Because those two are pushed
That's
together.
78 is for site
Yeah,
work, that's
it's
separate from the foundation.
The total should have been, when I discussed this informally with Joe, he had given me a number of 380. I see a number of 364. Either way, you're looking at almost $100,000 over what we have budgeted just on that total there. So,
Which they don't have right now.
I can't answer for them, I don't know, that would be up to them to answer whether they had it, but that money can't come, we don't have that money set aside anywhere, as I've said, I don't know, 50 times since this whole thing started. All we have is the $262,000, which is earmarked for the site prep and the erection of a foundation. But also the engineering costs come out of that. That's not all hard costs, there's also soft costs are coming out of that $262,000, which is the engineering costs. So when we get a bill from Boswell that relates to that, it comes out of that account.
I would suggest that those estimates be voted to PAL as soon as possible.
What's that?
I would suggest that those estimates be voted to PAL.
Mail has these estimates.
They have it?
Yeah.
Okay. So then they should be able to answer them.
Does the community center have it as well? Everybody has them?
This is not a question and answer. So, what you want to do, you want to have a special meeting to discuss this with PAL and everybody?
Unless it can be done at a public meeting, at the next public meeting, I just think it should be done sooner than later.
I agree, that's why I'm trying to get a decision sometime tonight. So we schedule a special meeting.
Why don't we schedule a special, I do it the same night.
You want to meet
Hard
earlier?
enough time getting everyone here every time.
That would be fine.
Do you want to meet earlier that night or no? Just at the same
Fine.
time?
That's
Which
fine.
night are we talking about?
24.
Tuesday the 24th.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'll be best if we can meet earlier. Just for that purpose.
What time? You have to notice. You have to decide tonight what time. 7? That's
How long do
fine.
we need? Our other meeting will be
Well,
short.
it could be,
Schedule
it could be
that. Yeah,
short if they don't have the money.
Tough to build without money.
Yeah, it certainly is.
So 7 o'clock on the 24th?
7 o'clock on the 24th, everybody agree?
I agree.
I got that.
Now, we're gonna have everybody, PAL,
I will work on trying, inviting everybody to,
PAL,
PAL, the Community Center Foundation.
Community Center, yeah.
And you arrange shortly.
I'll arrange for Joe to be here, or he said he'd send someone else, but I'll just.
Mayor, I just mentioned to Councilman Dotto that you have numbers based upon site work side, site appears to be the least costly, so if they don't have the money for what appears to be the least costly site, it doesn't matter, because any other site would be more money that they don't have the money for. So if they can't even afford to put it on what is believed to be the most cost efficient site, then what difference does it make? Right?
You're right. Because this site prep is that site specific.
Right.
Because there's water there, there's sewage there, there's electricity there, everything is there.
So that's the best number they'll ever have. Any other site's gonna cost more money.
Yeah. Well, there is
Conceivable.
one little slab of concrete has to be removed, I guess. That's in here, but that's not a big deal. But you're right, that's the cheapest site. So we have a meeting scheduled for the 7th.
24th and 7th.
24th and 7th.
Good enough. Next item on the agenda. Is on that. This one I think is special. We're gonna put that in the executive session.
I put it both places so that
Let's do that.
just let you know that we did get the approval though.
Yeah.
I did give you that, okay, for today.
I don't know if everybody got it, if you check your mailbox, we got the approval for deferred comp today.
Oh,
The state
okay.
passed it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, other new business?